Hello, everyone. My name is Blake, and this is Walk the Parks. Today, we are going to hike the Whale Rock Trail, which is a short trail in Canyonlands National Park, Island in the Sky District. It is a beautiful hike, certainly short but sweet. And I'm so lucky I have hiked over 20,000 miles, and just recently I decided I was going to start recording them. And why? Well, for a number of reasons. One, I don't think there's really a resource on the internet that provides, a lot of people like to think, what is this going to be like? Is this hike worth it? So maybe we can answer that question. Also, maybe you have a treadmill. Maybe you go to the gym and use the treadmill or a bike or something like that. And you want something more exciting to watch in the background. Feel free to mute me and listen to music, or listen to me ramble on about the wonders of Canyonlands National Park and Whale Rock. So those are two reasons. The third reason would be for accessibility. Like, some people, maybe they don't have the funds or the means or I don't know, there's all sorts of potential reasons why you might never be able to make it to the Island in the Sky District. It isn't a pretty remote place in Utah. So for anyone who can't make it out there, I'm hoping to kind of provide a little insight of what it's like. Plus, hiking is my passion, and I want to share it. So you'll notice this trail is marked by lots of cairns. So there's one right there that we're passing. So cairns are small rock piles that mark the trail. These are very common in this region of the country, really. The Colorado Plateau would be the over-encompassing geological feature, and people might think, oh, that must be in Colorado, but really it's just in very western Colorado, like Grand Junction, Montrose, and the very western side of Colorado. It goes down into New Mexico, like kind of all of southern Utah, and down to the Grand Canyon. It's pretty much the whole area of the country that kind of has that Mars vibe, right? You got those red rocks, kind of flat, smooth, slick rock. That is the Colorado Plateau. So a lot of trails are marked with cairns in the Colorado Plateau. This one in particular has both. There seems to be some cairns that have been kind of built randomly by people, but other ones, there's official cairns on this trail, and they're kind of cemented together, which I found kind of interesting and cool. So a lot of the trails can be a bit tricky to follow, particularly if you're new to this kind of terrain, or if you come after a rainstorm, because then a lot of the footprints will be kind of washed away. So keep your eye out for cairns. The other issue with cairns too is that people like to build them for fun. So it's like, is that a real cairn? Is that just somebody built for fun? It's kind of a hard thing to determine, but just kind of keep that in mind. This trail is pretty well marked, but also I remember towards the beginning / end when I was headed back, it was kind of easy to get off trail in a couple of places, and I did see some people that were kind of way off trail at some point when I was hiking, so keep that in mind. I also actually went off trail. I did a little extra credit hiking. Looking at the map, it looks like really the trail, the official quote-unquote trail, which is just on Slick Rock, ends at the summit of Whale Rock, but you can walk all the way down it. It does get a little bit more sketchy, like there's a steep part that maybe I wouldn't necessarily recommend, but I don't know, always good to explore. And just keep in mind, you always want to kind of explore within reason. There's kind of three surfaces you want to stick to when you're in an area like this. Either designated trail, either on like full slick rock, or like in the sandy wash of a stream, because that will be taken over. What you want to avoid, there's this stuff called cryptobiotic soil, and it kind of looks like textured dirt almost. Like there's some on the left, I think, right here. See, it's kind of like, oh, that might be a rock. Hard to tell, but it kind of just looks like dirt with an irregular surface, and it's usually a different color, like more of a darker color than the soil, but soil can be all different colors here. But anyway, you just want to try to really avoid that cryptobiotic soil. It takes a ton of time to regrow, so if you trample on that, it's not very good because it takes a long time to grow, and there's plenty of slick rock and sandy wash bottoms and designated trails to walk on. All right, I'll get off my high horse there. What a beautiful hike. We're mostly in desert here, obviously. When to do this trail, I would recommend coming in either spring or fall. In the wintertime, it really does get cold here. I know a lot of people have this image of the desert being this kind of inferno type place. And while some deserts can be like that, particularly in the summer, in the wintertime, they can actually get quite cold. And even in spring and fall, really, like the temperature difference between daytime and nighttime can be pretty significant. But anyway, so I might avoid the winter because it can be freezing with snow and just not that pleasant. And then in the summer, the opposite. It can be just disgustingly hot and kind of dangerous because of the heat, like because you're just getting beat down. It's hard to really have enough salt and sometimes water on the trail. And then it's also just kind of not fun. You might think like, oh, I'm used to the heat or whatever, where if you're from somewhere hot, but a lot of people that live in hot locations, whenever I've lived in a really hot location, you spend a lot of time in the air conditioning too. So keep that in mind. I mean, maybe if you work outside as a landscaper every day or something, you can take the heat, but I would really, really, really urge you to take the heat seriously because it can just crush you and kind of just make it not fun. I mean, I know a lot of people have vacation around summertime, and that's the only time they can get out, so I respect that, but just use extra caution if you're here in the summer. This video takes place in early May. I was here. So I would rank this as a pretty easy trail overall. Even on the sign for the trail, they kind of explain it as as an easy trail and one for kids. So that's cool. And they estimate as about a mile round trip. And the time estimate on the trailhead sign is about 1 hour. This is in real time, this hike. I think I might have cut out like 5 seconds of it because I was like messing with my backpack. But there's really, I tend to be a little bit faster hiker than normal. That varies too. You might come out here and crush it in 10 minutes, and good for you. It's all good. But for most people, I mean, I'd say give yourself at least half an hour to an hour. Especially if you're not used to this kind of terrain, it can be tricky. Like, where am I going? So I love this. I love it here. Slick Rock is one of my favorite terrains to hike on. This is such a cool like little hike. I think for kids it would be cool too because you can kind of climb on the rocks and you get fantastic views with fairly minimal effort. I mean, Canyonlands is just so wonderful for that. You can this whole area really. I mean, even like Arches National Park and Moab. There's so many cool hikes that are you can just go anywhere and kind of explore around, and it's really cool. So as you can see, I think that might be a little cairn that we're coming up to. So Whale Rock apparently looks from like a whale from really far away. You use your own judgment. So yeah, see, that's another like concrete cairn, which is kind of cool. There was a storm kind of coming in around me. Wouldn't really want to be up on these. They're kind of the highest thing around if there was some lightning or something like that. So keep that in mind if you're on Whale Rock. But what a cool hike. Just so beautiful. Right down the road from here you have the Upheaval Dome Trail. This trail itself has like a small parking lot. There's room for maybe 10, 12 cars-ish. So keep that in mind. There is a little bit larger parking lot, maybe a half mile away, but I don't know. Might want to just wait for this one to be available. Or you could just walk down the road. Do as you wish. All right, so that kind of dome in front of us, I think, is where the official trail, and I kind of giggle when I say trail because it's like, look at this, there's no real trail. It would be miraculous if humans hiked on this enough to create like a trench going to and from it or something like that on the Slick Rock. Slick Rock is pretty fairly durable stuff. But I think so. This little hump right in front of us that protrudes with some vegetation on it, that is the end of the hike. But I'm gonna go around to the left here and go a little bit further because I really just wanted to enjoy the full Whale Rock experience. I hope you do too. So I made a bunch of these videos, kind of putting them all out there for fun, see if you guys like them or not. Please feel free to give me feedback. You can like, subscribe, unsubscribe, a dislike, whatever you're into. But would love to hear feedback for how I could get better at this. A lot of the longer hikes that I've done, I just kind of blabber for as long as I have information to say, and then kind of let it be blank for maybe more of those people who are watching on the treadmill or the exercise bike, or people who just want to check it out. Because I don't think people want to hear me talk for 4 hours straight. I probably can. Anyone who knows me well knows that I'm quite talkative. It's funny because I consider myself kind of both an introvert and an extrovert, if I'm honest. So sometimes I can be extremely talkative, but I can also be very quiet. So it's an easy trail, as I said. It's about 1 mile round trip. It is an out and back hike. There's no permit required for the hike, though you do have to pay to get into the park. All right, so here we come. This is the kind of sketchy part, and video can never really do it justice. So I'd really kind of contemplate both of these next sections. Like this is kind of steep right here going down, and then to get on top of that next kind of bluff we're looking at is kind of steep too. Like it's not, and the thing with slick rock you need to keep in mind is a lot of times it's not so bad to go up. Like you can just be like do do do, and you're all the way up something. But then when you're coming back and you look down and you're like, oh gosh, that's scary. And slick rock for the most part, when it's dry, has quite good traction. But if you were to trip or something like that, a lot of times you can fall a long way. So keep that in mind. You can see the road down there. So pretty close to the road, but it's not like you hear the road noise. Plus you're in a beautiful national park. The road actually dead ends right at Upheaval Dome too, so. Has anyone gone here? Is anyone planning to go here? Would love to hear in the comments. I just love, Canyonlands is cool. The park is broken up into 3 sections. You have this one here, which is the Island in the Sky district, which I would assume is the most popular. I'm not 100% positive of that. Which it's kind of located, it's pretty close to Moab, Utah. It's still probably 20, 30 miles away from Moab, but Canyonlands the Needles district is pretty remote, though extremely beautiful. Highly recommended to go visit Needles district. And then there's a 3rd district called the Maze district, which is, gosh, it's got to be one of the most remote places in the lower 48. You have to take these dirt roads like forever. And even then, the roads start getting super intense. So if you're a big 4x4 person, there's cool roads for you there. But man, don't break down. I don't know how much a tow truck costs a lot of these places. There's awesome this whole area really is a 4x4 and like dirt bike and side-by-side mecca. So if that's your game, not in the national park, but even then, even Island in the Sky district has the White Rim Trail, which is like this 100-mile dirt road that's super beautiful. A lot of people mountain bike it, but you could also just drive it. It takes quite a while. So anyway, so there's tons of 4x4 opportunities around this whole area. Moab is just an incredible place. Have you guys ever been there? It's a quite a small town, but it's just amazing. There is one campground inside Island in the Sky district. It is a first come, first serve campground, so you can't get reservations. And the other thing about the campground is it's quite small, so I would kind of urge caution if your plan is to stay at the campground up here. If you want to reserve something a little bit closer to here, you could stay at Dead Horse Point State Park. I know they have reservations online, but the most common place for people to stay would be in Moab, Utah. So keep that in mind. And if you do have the opportunity, like if you're thinking like, oh, should I go to this area of the country I've never been? I don't know if it's worth it. Oh, I don't know about the desert. Absolutely, the answer is yes. It is one of my personal favorite areas, and everyone I've ever seen come here like is blown away by the incredible beauty of the place. It's absolutely amazing. Again, it can be rough if you come in the summer because it can be super hot and kind of like dangerous / just kind of annoying if you come in the summertime, but also and in the winter too. But if you're in the spring, if you get this on a nice day, which it does tend to be, a lot of bluebird days with no clouds, as I say that as the video is super cloudy, but there's a lot of beautiful days you can get here too. So always be prepared for the sun though, regardless of the temperature. Today I almost get lucky, like cloudy days are almost nice because it protects you from the sun a little bit, but you just get beaten down. So some of the ways I combat that is you could wear sun gloves. A sun hoodie is a really cool thing. Those are probably the most popular things for hiking, and I've found a lot of people think initially like, oh, it's going to be so hot if I'm wearing a long sleeve and a hoodie, but it's really nice, to be honest. Like for whatever reason, I don't know whether like a little microclimate is created between your sleeves and your skin, but it's nice. The sun just beats down on you. So sun hoodies, highly recommended. All right, so the trail description, as on the trailhead sign, says, "Scramble up Whale Rock for views of Island in the Sky and surrounding canyons. This trail begins with a quick, level walk across the desert. As it approaches the base of the butte, the trail climbs gradually on ledges and slopes, finally becoming a short but steep ascent to the rock's crest. The slick rock scramble onto the back of the whale makes this an especially fun hike for children. And then it says, people have always enjoyed naming the fanciful rock formations in canyon country. From a distance, the long, curving spine of this butte resembles the profile of a whale. The sign also reads, with some typical safety information. Some of the stuff I've already kind of touched on a little bit, but it says, protect yourself. Carry and drink water throughout your visit. Be careful near cliff edges, especially when rock surfaces are wet or icy. Trails are marked by cairns, small piles of rocks. Building additional cairns or creating new routes may cause other hikers to become lost or injured. Some of the cairns in Canyonland National Park, on many of the most popular trails, are actually cemented together, which is interesting and cool. I added that last sentence. I'd already mentioned that. During a lightning storm, avoid lone trees, cliff edges, and high ridges. All right, so now on the trail, we're kind of going back to the normal trail. Like that was just more of an extra credit point, but just showing you there's more places to go. You can kind of go off the beaten path and stay on some slick rock. You're not damaging any vegetation or anything. So I didn't know what the best way to go up here was. Seemed like maybe this was it. So just chose a route and went for it. Maybe the way I go down is the proper way. Is it all the proper way? Anyway, so we're about to summit Whale Rock. Thank you guys so much for joining me here, and then we'll head back down. That's another thing too I kind of debate with these videos. Like, should I have the whole hike? Should I just have half the hike to the top? And I started doing half the hike to the top, but then people were like, well, half the hard part is going back. And sometimes the views are better when you're going down. So I just decided to film it all for most of them. And again, I'm hoping, like I said, if somebody's on a treadmill and they found this, they'd think it's cool. You can either mute me out or listen to me, or just watch this in the background as something interesting, or just if you're about to go here and you want to see, like, okay, so the sign says it's good for kids, but do I want my kids doing this right here? And I don't know what your answer is to that. So again, there's probably space for like 10 cars at the parking lot. Avoid soil crust, walk on trails, rock or sandy wash bottoms. And just remember, if you find anything, like the ancestral Puebloan people lived all around this larger region. And as a result, there's a bunch of artifacts. Like you can kind of randomly come upon all sorts of cool rock art, or potentially find like a shard of pottery, or maybe you'll find an arrowhead or something like that. Even though it might be tempting to take it as a souvenir, please don't. Just leave it for the next person. It's a lot cooler. Just leave it where you found it, and so maybe the next person that comes to the park can check it out. I know if you go to, I went to Petrified Forest National Park, which is in kind of near Flagstaff, Arizona, maybe more towards Winslow, Arizona, out that way. But so anyway, it's in northern Arizona, but they actually kind of will search your car. Like they have a car searching section because I guess so many people have taken petrified rocks over the years, which is pretty sad. It's kind of that philosophy of like, oh, well, if just I do it, it's not that big a deal. But then just you multiplied times however millions of people have gone there over the past few decades, So try to leave what you find. I get it. Rocks are cool. So, I mean, overall, as you can see, very cool views in the distance. I really feel like there's not much more you can ask for. Like, 1 mile hike, right? You're pretty much right. You got beautiful views. You got kind of certainly cool terrain. Like even the climb up is cool. You got slick rock, which is cool. So everything about this hike is awesome. I mean, I feel like if you go to a park where is more treed, and don't get me wrong, I love walking through the forest, but a lot of times, especially in just a half mile one way, a 1 mile, 1 mile round trip hike, you're not necessarily going to get crazy views on every hike unless, I guess some mountains have a road to the top and you can be at the top of the mountain, but that's really some of the rewards of the West in general. I guess I'd say is the landscape is so much more expansive. I always think like the East is so green, but like on a highway or something, or just the distance you can like see on average, say from your car from anywhere, is so much shorter in the East compared to the West. That's one of my favorite parts about the Western United States. It's just so expansive, the big sky country. But it all has its merits. I mean, I love the Appalachians are gorgeous. Gosh, Acadia National Park. Have you guys been there? Fantastic. Also, the fall, like in New England, wonderful. Or you can go down to Florida. The Dry Tortugas National Park was really cool. I really enjoyed that one. Go camping there if you can. Really hard to get reservations, though. I think I had to book like 13 months in advance. But it was just fantastic. Like when all the tourist boat leaves, or the tour boat, whatever you call it, leaves, like you're there with like 20 people on this island. It's absolutely unbelievable. Very, very, very cool place. And there's all these like hermit crabs that walk around. Anyway, that is a very separate topic from from Whale Rock. One of the things you'll notice on this hike is that it's very dry. So because of that, definitely bring your own water. Don't think like, oh, I might run across a water source. And even for the most part, if you do find water sources in a lot of these places, you kind of want to stay away from them. Like the animals also have limited choices from what they drink from, so it's kind of nice if you can leave it for them if possible. And I must say, one of my favorite parts, and which makes me proud to be from this country, is that there's almost no garbage ever on any of these trails, and it's so cool. And it's great that we're gonna all keep it that way, because nobody wants to see that. Same thing. If you have to go to the bathroom, go way off trail. Bury it if you got to go number two, and man, pack out that toilet paper too. Nobody wants to see a Charmin bloom. Wildflowers are cool, but Charmin blooms are just not it. So let's see here. At the end of the video, I'll leave you with one little story. One time I actually walked from the Yellowstone all the way to the Grand Canyon, and I connected every national park in Wyoming, Colorado, Utah, into Nevada for Great Basin, and then down to the Grand Canyon. And it was just fantastic. I did not go through Island in the Sky District, but I did end up going through the Needles District, and you can kind of look up. The Needles District is cool too because it's kind of a much lower elevation, so you can look up. Whereas Island in the Sky is, as it sounds, it's kind of a risen, an island, if you will, of rock, really high up. You can look down. Such a cool area. Other hikes to enjoy here. Oh man, you have Grandview Point is awesome. The Incline Overlook Trail. There's so much cool stuff. Like I said, if you have a bit longer time, that White Rim Trail is really cool. I think you do need a permit for that, though. At the time of me going on this hike, there was an entrance fee, but there was not any sort of timed entry or anything. But Arches National Park, which is just kind of down the road from here, does now have, or at least it had in this past year, timed entry. So, which I have mixed feelings about, if I'm honest. On one hand, I'll give it to the managers of all these resources, though. It's a tough job. It's a tough balance, like, because the Park Service really is at a contradiction. Like, their mission is like to preserve the park, but also to ensure people can visit it. So, but it's like visit it for years to come. So that's kind of challenging, like because preservation versus visitation. Anyway, I really respect the park managers that are able to work hard at their jobs. All right, so we're almost done. Hike is just winding down here. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. and get excited. This hike is so fantastic. I just love I love the island in the sky district. It's so beautiful. It's a cool name, even. Island in the Sky. All of them, really. Canyonlands is like just Canyonlands by itself sounds cool. Islands in the Sky, Needles District, The Maze. Hard to go too wrong. All right, so I'm just going to leave you in silence for this last minute of the video. Thank you so much for watching today, and hope you have a wonderful day.